Good afternoon, Eslan fan. I'm Patrick from Eslan. Today I'd like to talk about why most English learners bomb a job interview. Do you know what bomb is? When you bomb a job interview, that means you flunk it. When you flunk something, you fail at it. All right? So why do you fail a job interview? What happens? What are the factors? There are a lot of factors, obviously. I have learned a couple of things, basically, talking to students and all that. I think I'm in a position to give some advice and it might help. Okay, so I'm going to touch on a few factors that I think lead some students to bomb a job interview. First of all, don't apply for jobs that require bubbly personalities. Do you know those ads? They say, we want somebody bubbly, somebody who talks too much, somebody bubbly. I mean, what do you think you're doing? You're applying for a job requiring a bubbly personality. You're not going to be able to do it anytime soon. So be realistic, or know your strengths and weaknesses. You cannot do it now. You might be able to do it later. You might be able to do it later, but you cannot do it now. You might be bubbly, in your language, but you're not now in English. Bubbly people are people who never shut up. They're very talkative. They're like a cheddar box. You might not be like that. And so if you go for one of those jobs, it's very likely that you're not going to get it. Okay? Second one, when you're in the job interview, don't use long, difficult words to impress anybody. Do me a favor, don't do that. Okay? Don't do it. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to impress people that, you're very fluent, you're very competent. So you use those big words. Don't. All right? I know you're trying to impress, but don't. People don't like it. The thing is, most people are not comfortable, right, listening to that sort of language, yeah, that formal language. It sounds very artificial, unnatural, right? People do not relate to that. They don't relate to it. So stick to more standard language, everyday sort of language, right? Because it's easier to understand, it's easier to relate to. People like hearing it, all right? They feel like they're at ease. Use colloquialism. You know colloquialism, all right? Colloquialism is the everyday language, everyday English, everyday language. So stick to that. Colloquialism, that means instead of saying enter, you say get in. We all say get in. It doesn't matter whether you speak American English or British English or whatever English. They all say get in. Now, slang is more specific, right? So slang, there's slang used by teens, by construction workers, by IT workers, by actors, etc. Every language has different slang as well. And that's not terminology. That's not jargon. Do not confuse that with jargon. It's not jargon. It's just slang, all right? It's a local language that a small group of people use it. Relatively speaking. It can be a large group of people, but you know what I mean. So, right? Slang is when you choose to say stink. For example, if you want to say to somebody you smell bad, you say you stink. That's a slang, all right? If you want to say to somebody go away, you say buzz off, all right? Buzz off. If you want to say get drunk, you say get wasted. That's slang. All right, and you're not going to use that in a job interview, obviously, all right? So that's my next factor. That's my next thing. Do not use slang to impress, okay? You might know some slang expressions you're very proud of. Don't use them in a job interview. You don't want to do that. That'd be a big mistake. Because if you have a bit of accent and you're using slang and you have a bit of accent, it sounds weird. It just doesn't sound natural. It sounds weird. It's like you're overdoing it. You're trying too hard to impress. It doesn't work. Slang is very local. So if you want to use slang, the sounds have to really be local too. Slang is part of the local culture of an area, a region, a small region sometimes. Unless you really produce the sounds like the people who are living in an area do, then just don't do it. Don't bother with it, okay? The next thing is taking long, confusing pauses during a conversation. Under no circumstances should you freeze like a deer caught in the headlights during the job interview. Just don't do that, never. You've got to keep going no matter what, no matter what. Get used to saying something, anything, even if it's not what you intended to say. If you forget what you want to say, what was I going to say? I can't remember. I forgot. I need to have my coffee in the morning. I didn't have my coffee today, right? Say anything. It doesn't matter. Don't stop. Just don't stop. You stop, you're gone. You're done. That's it. No problem. You're not going to get a job. You're not going to get a job because people don't want people who have, some problem thinking on their feet. So taking long pauses, staring at the roof or giggling nervously or apologizing for your bad English. That's the worst. If you apologize for your bad English, say, oh, sorry, I'm bad. My English is not good enough. I heard that like a million times. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Very ridiculous. If you say that to somebody, you lose respect right away. They're going to appreciate the fact that you're modest about it, but you're not going to get a job. You're not going to get a job. So just don't do that. That's the worst thing that you can do. Okay. Now, the next thing is to think what your weird accent is cute and funny. Yeah, that sort of mentality, like, I got a very cute accent, I speak like I have an Italian accent, or, I have an Italian accent, I'm a very cute and a very good speaker, people like me because I have an accent, you know what I mean? Very bad if you speak like that. No, I don't think, hey, it's not funny, all right? It's not funny. It can be funny in certain situations, but it's not funny in general, not in a job interview, all right? Because it's distracting. That's what it is. It's distracting. Employers need to be able to understand the content of the conversation without having to focus too hard on what's coming out of your mouth. I love children. Do you know why? Because they're very honest. They tell it as it is. They're straight shooters. They're straight shooters. They don't lie to you. So I had a Japanese friend at some point, and a kid just walked up to him and he goes, why do you speak weird? And he was like completely shocked. It was shocked. He had nightmares about it because he'd been under the impression that, his English was good. All the adults, all his teachers said, oh, your English is very good. Don't worry about it. The sounds are good. Your pronunciation is fantastic. But then the kid didn't understand what that guy was talking about. So he said, why do you speak weird? And that put him down. It just destroyed him completely for a few days. I'm serious. Especially if you're very sensitive about it, you're going to have a hard time talking to children. Fix it. If you have a funny accent, fix it. You don't want to go around sounding weird. Fix it. Look, some jobs don't require oral communication. That's okay. You don't need to speak in your job. Fantastic. You don't need to worry about it. But if your job involves speaking and talking to people, you have to really be conscious of your accent. You have to. The final thing I want to say is the biggest mistake that you can make is not to prepare to speak about your strength. Because that's all you do in a job interview. You speak about your strength. Maybe a little bit about your weaknesses too, but about your strength. It's hard enough for you as an English speaker, as an English learner, to sit through a job interview in front of in front of one or several interviewers staring at you, asking you all sorts of questions. The least thing you can do is prepare. Right? That's it. Prepare, prepare, prepare. I personally recommend that you prepare talking about yourself because most of the times employers want to know you. They want to know who you are. They're going to ask you questions about yourself, about your personality, about your character, about problems that you solved, about challenges you overcame. They're going to ask you to demonstrate what you claim you can do on your CV. As simple as that. You've got to be able to talk about it, and you've got to be able to talk about it freely and comfortably without struggle. The only way for you to do that is to prepare, rehearse. So you've got to talk about yourself in a way that makes the employer feel that they can trust you, right? They can trust your ability to do a job. Your choice of sentence stress and voice pitch and overall intonation has the potential to secure that dream job that you've been trying to get. So take those seriously. I'm going to sum them up: how not to bomb a job. Don't apply for jobs that are looking for bubbly personalities because you're not there yet. Don't use long, difficult words to impress. Don't use slang to impress. Don't take long pauses. Don't freeze. If you don't know a word, if you can't think of a word, don't freeze. Don't think that your weird accent is funny, so you overdo it because people think you're cute. And prepare. Don't go in there without preparing and rehearsing, preparing what you have to say when you talk about yourself. Remember these things and you should be all right.